there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen keeps eating my microwave dinners, and I've had enough. After that, Nanny bought books for my daughter and demands that I pay her for them. And after that, daughter keeps using Do Not Disturb on her phone to ignore us. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to eat anyone's microwave dinners. But I heard we had kids' cuisine. You know, that good one with the brownie that has sprinkles on it. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen keeps eating my microwave dinners and I've had enough. About 6 weeks ago, I, 21 female, moved in with my friend John, who's 22 male. John and I have been very good friends for almost 2 years now after I befriended him at work. 6 months ago, he met this girl, Kat, who's 19. He told me about her the day after he matched with her on a dating app and took me to her workplace to meet her. She seemed very lovely and I was so happy for him. Since then, John is always inviting her to every friend outing, so I got to know her. We have lots in common, and for John's sake, I wanted to be her friend. However, I think that, in the nicest way possible, she's a bit rude. She does art, and half the time John compliments her work, she says, "You hate it, don't you?" Or times we hang out with other friends, we've had to go home early as she was bored, and John was our ride home. She hasn't done anything to me personally, but I just don't like her much. I'm happy John has found someone who he cares for, but having to stand by and watch how she acts sometimes rubs me the wrong way. Here's where the issue comes in. Yesterday, John and I were at the supermarket to do our food shop. Normally, we would buy our food for the week, and maybe a couple of simple or frozen meals to save for Sunday. However, Kat has been coming over for dinners a few times a week, and she has a very limited diet. She refuses to eat anything other than fast food or simple or frozen meals. She likely has her reasons for eating specific food, and in case it's due to an ED or something similar, I don't want to make things hard for her or pry into something that isn't my business. The time where it became an issue for me is how John has now wanted to buy backup meals for her in case she doesn't like what we're cooking. This would make sense, as before she has been eating stuff that was part of our weekly meal plan. The problem is, John wants me to financially contribute to these extra meals for her. When I spoke to John about this and said how I'm not happy paying half for her meals, our weekly shop cost is just split in half as we both eat everything, he got quite agitated. He called me selfish for not wanting to help her just to save money. I know frozen meals aren't the most expensive thing in the world, but John is in a much better financial situation than I am, and while I can pay my share of the bills and occasionally have outings with my friends, I don't want to be dishing out extra money for meals for a girl I have no real connection to, as these small amounts do add up. In my eyes, if Kat doesn't like what we're cooking, she could come over on a different day, or John could buy backup meals for her out of his own pocket. I feel like a jerk, but I don't think I should be paying for an extra person's food. If my boyfriend had a similar situation to Kat, I'd see it as my responsibility to provide for him and his diet, and I'd never expect John to pay. Am I the jerk for thinking this way? Do any of you have any advice? Not the jerk, but it's time to take a financial and social step back from John as he navigates his new relationship. He can't expect you to help finance the fact that his girlfriend eats like a kid and needs backup meals. That's their expense alone, and perhaps separate shopping is now in order as you two no longer have the same joint priorities. On the flip side, I also wouldn't continue to rely on John as a ride if you constantly want to stay out with friends later. It honestly sounds like your life paths are just splitting at this time, and it's best to acknowledge that and adjust expectations of each other accordingly before bitterness sets in. I'd also get ahead of any rent or living concerns sooner rather than later. If she's sticking around, it may be time to start planning an exit strategy. Nanny bought books for my daughter and expects me to pay her for them. My daughter Ruby is 12. Recently, she's gotten into the original Star Trek show, as well as The Next Generation. Ruby is also a big reader and has started to collect a few of the old Star Trek books that she finds in used bookstores and thrift stores. These books usually cost anywhere from 50 cents to a couple of dollars. My nanny, Tessa, who's 22, hangs out with Ruby most days after she gets out of school. Tessa has been our nanny for over a year now, and she and Ruby get along great. Tessa is big into thrifting and will often keep an eye out for the books that Ruby wants. This is not typically a problem, and Ruby always pays Tessa back for the books using her allowance. The problem occurred when Tessa went on a family vacation out west. Apparently, she went thrifting during this trip, found some books for Ruby. She texted Ruby asking her if she wanted the books, and Ruby said yes. Well, Tessa returned yesterday with a stack of about 35 books and told Ruby they cost $50. Ruby doesn't have this much money and told Tessa. Tessa then asked me if I would cover the cost. I said no, as Tessa had never even asked me about buying Ruby the books, nor was I aware of the conversation between the two of them. Tessa got upset, and I asked Ruby to show me the text, which made no mention of price or even the amount of books she was buying. Tessa only said that she found some books for Ruby. Ruby is on the spectrum and does not read between the lines. You have to be very literal with her. Previously, Tessa has never bought Ruby more than 1 or 2 books at a time, so I told her that she should have clarified with Ruby regarding the amount, or double-checked with me before purchasing, and that I would not be paying the $50. Tessa said she could not return the books because they came from the thrift store. I stood firm in my decision and reiterated that she should have asked me first. Tessa left, and Ruby is very upset. I know Tessa is a student and does not have a ton of money, so am I the jerk for not paying Tessa for the books? Edit, because some people are asking. I am a single parent to Ruby, and while $50 will not make or break the bank, it is definitely an unexpected expense. I provide Tessa with an extra amount of money each month to spend on whatever she wants to do with Ruby, movies, the mall, etc. If she wanted to spend this fund on books for Ruby, that would have been totally fine, but she had already used it up. Edit 2. I definitely didn't expect this post to blow up overnight, so I'm going to add a bit more context. For those of you who are asking how can I afford a nanny for Ruby and still have $50 be a large unexpected expense, I do not pay for Tessa's services. Because Ruby is on the spectrum, she is entitled to benefits from our state, including care. The agency I work with pays Tessa. I'm not involved in that process at all. Update. I appreciate everyone's input. I've seen a few comments hinting to me about the fact that I don't support my daughter's reading habit. Please know this is definitely not the case. We're both big readers and frequent patrons of our local library. I'm always supportive of Ruby getting new books. I talked to Tessa and told her that I appreciate her for thinking of Ruby, apologized for the misunderstanding, and I have paid her for the books. We had a chat about expectations in the future, and I don't think this will happen again. I've also talked to Ruby, and we agreed that I would hold on to the books and she would pay me for them as she wishes. It's important to me that Ruby learns how to handle her finances appropriately, and we've decided that she will get 2 new books every week. She reads very quickly. After reading through your perspectives on the matter, I agree that it is better in the long run to lose the money and salvage the relationship between the 3 of us, and had not considered all of the implications of doing otherwise. Lesson learned. Sometimes it's better to salvage an important relationship than to be right. Pay for the books. Let Tessa know that you can't do so in the future though, without talking about it. Tell her how much you appreciate her thoughtfulness now and always. Daughter keeps using Do Not Disturb on her phone to ignore us. My daughter, who's 16, has her phone on Do Not Disturb all of the time. At first, it wasn't an issue since she would still answer my texts and calls whenever she is out at practice. For the past few weeks, she stopped answering my texts and calls, and she wouldn't receive them since I'd ask her why she wasn't answering, and she'd claim that she didn't get them. I'm not stupid. Her phone is on Do Not Disturb, and none of my texts and calls are going through. I'd ask my other daughters to see if they can reach out to her whenever she is out, just to ask her what time she might be home. No answers. My oldest, who's 22, would try to call, text, FaceTime, you name it, in order to ask her when she might be home. Over the weekend, my daughter had to attend an event at school, and when I came to pick her up, she went MIA and wasn't answering any of my texts and calls since, again, the Do Not Disturb feature was on. I started to get frustrated over it, so when my daughter finally entered the car, I told her that she needs to start answering my calls and texts, and she had no reason to ignore me when she knew I was going to be picking her up. My daughter gave me the excuse of, "Oh, I didn't see it," again. My frustration turned into anger, so I start yelling at her and said, "None of us are able to easily get a hold of you. Something that normally takes 2 minutes takes 20 or more since we can't seem to get you to answer the phone. Your father and I have been worried sick whenever you don't answer the phone." I then told her she has 2 choices. Either she removes the Do Not Disturb on her phone, or it gets taken away for a week. My daughter rolls her eyes and said it isn't fair for her to not be allowed to have the Do Not Disturb feature on. I said she needs to start answering her phone, or at the very least, call us back right away. I said that if she doesn't comply, her phone will be taken away. She begged me not to take her phone, so I said she needs to remove the Do Not Disturb feature. She refused once again. When we got home, I told her if she doesn't want her phone to be taken away, she needs to remove the Do Not Disturb feature. After some back and forth, my daughter removes the feature right in front of me before running to her room in tears. Now, before anyone thinks otherwise, I did allow her to have the phone on Do Not Disturb as long as she answers our calls and texts. We'd have to call her more than once to get a hold of her, but she is completely unreachable. I think I was too harsh, but I was at my wit's end. Am I the jerk? Edit. Some of you are thinking that I'm spamming my daughter with phone calls and texts while she's at school. I do not message her during school hours. The issue is taking place after school or on the weekends. My daughter, most of the time, does not tell anyone where she's going, doesn't ask for permission when she wants to go out with friends, and would sneak out of the house every time her father and I are out. None of my other kids would have any knowledge of where she went, and they'd even asked her, but she wouldn't answer her phone. Sometimes my son will ask her if she could buy him something from McDonald's or if they can go to Target together. We did speak to her before and said she can keep her phone on Do Not Disturb and we would never call or text while she's in class. Edit 2. My daughter has also been lying to us about where she'd go. She'd ask to borrow the car to go get food, but would come home 2 hours later. I'd call her after 45 minutes, but the phone would go straight to voicemail. She normally does tell us if she's going to class or practice, but whenever she goes out outside of those times, she doesn't tell us, she won't answer her phone. It's like she's hiding. Edit 3. Some are suggesting that I take the car keys away. The problem with that is, if there's a car available, she'll take it. She's taken my oldest daughter's car a few times, and when she'd ask where she's going, she would say, "None of your business." My oldest hid the car keys from her, and it would be met with manipulation and my daughter crying and screaming. Edit 4. As stated in the first edit, we do not text or call our daughter during school. My daughter takes the car when my husband and I are not here. If there's no car available, she won't go. My daughter is on spring break this week, and I've spoken to her this morning, and I've taken her car keys. She will not have it back for a long time is all I'm going to say. Not until my husband and I are able to trust her again. My husband and I will have a serious sit-down with her when he gets off from work this afternoon. Not the jerk. A teenager has the phone to be contacted. If she can't use it for its intended function, she doesn't need it. The Do Not Disturb function can be set up such that a priority contact will go right through it. She's choosing not to. Not the jerk. As a parent, this is infuriating. My kids used to do it. There are situations where the Do Not Disturb function is perfectly acceptable and it has its place. But you're paying the bill for that phone. She has a phone out of your kindness as a parent, and she has no right to have a phone. You have every right to insist she takes it off Do Not Disturb. Edit. Wow, so many you're the jerks. Parents get phones for their kid to have some independence and to connect to the world. This parent was not overbearing and spamming the kid with phone calls. When a parent needs to reach their kid, they should be able to reach them. If they miss a text or a call, it's understandable. It happens. This kid was never answering. Repeat, never. The price the kid pays to have the phone is simply be accessible. They get all the benefits of being connected to the entire world, their friends, their entire family, the internet, social media, apps, games, all for the low price of $0 and responding to mom and dad when they call or text. Totally fair. You're the jerk. You have a teenager who's hiding something from you, sneaking out, stealing cars, and you're focused on her not answering the phone? I'm all for teenage independence, but this is way too far. Sort out your kid. I'm going against the grain, but you're the jerk. Not for forcing her to turn off the Do Not Disturb feature on her phone, but for letting her think the way that she's acting is okay. Your 16-year-old daughter doesn't think it's necessary to let you guys know where she's going. She sneaks out of the house any given chance, and she steals people's cars. She's not borrowing someone's car, she's stealing. And you're teaching her that she can get away with it. You're threatening her with taking her phone away? It should have been taken away a long time ago. You say you can't take the car keys away from her because she'll just steal whoever else's car is there? So you shouldn't even bother coming up with a solution? You're raising a kid that's going to be horrendous to deal with in the real world. Someone who doesn't respect boundaries and can't follow rules. This is far beyond the scope of Reddit. She might need to see a therapist. But in reality, it sounds like you guys aren't enforcing boundaries and your daughter has realized she can step all over you. Some kids need a strict parent and your daughter sounds like one of them. Kids nowadays are becoming a horror to deal with, especially in schools, because parents like you allow them to run the household. Put your foot down, she's your kid and you're the parent. Stop letting her put herself at risk, because one day she's gonna make a mistake she can't come back from. Am I the jerk for giving away an expensive KitchenAid stand mixer my dad got me for my birthday that I thought looked extremely ugly? Background. For my 24th birthday, my dad got me a gray metal KitchenAid stand mixer for my apartment. It was about $700, I think. However, I did not ask for this, and honestly, I hate the color as it doesn't match anything in my place, and also it's too big. I gave it to my friend who liked it and was moving to a different state. My boyfriend then got me a cute black stand mixer that fits into my apartment a lot better, so that's what I have. My dad was over last night, and he noticed that the gray stand mixer was gone and replaced by the black one. He asked where it was, and I told him the truth, namely that I thought the gray one was ugly, so I gave it to my friend, and my boyfriend got me the black one instead. My dad was shocked and said the gray stand mixer had cost a lot, and that he thought I would have liked it, so that's why he gave it to me as a present. Maybe here's where I'm the jerk. I said if he would have been more observant, he would have known that I absolutely hate the color gray. It's my least favorite color, and everyone in my life who knows me knows that. I honestly wasn't trying to be rude, I was just stating a fact. But my mom called me today and told me I really hurt my dad's feelings and I need to apologize for throwing away a thoughtful birthday gift my dad had put a lot of money and thought into. I don't think that's necessary. I think after my dad gave me the stand mixer, it became mine and I could do anything with it. And I didn't throw it away. I gave it to a friend. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Once you've given someone a gift, they don't get to claim ownership of that item anymore. A gift is given away, and that's kind of it. It's totally up to the receiver what they then do with it. Or at least that's how I treat gifts. Once it's gone from my responsibility of getting it to its receiver, then that's it. My job is done, and I don't care what happens to it. The money is gone from my pocket, and I move on. Whether someone likes my gift or not, I don't really care. Like, I try to make them as thoughtful as possible, but ultimately, I did my best, and that will have to do. Gifts aren't meant to be a way to control someone else or their actions. Gifts are meant to be gifted and enjoyed if possible. Sometimes the gifts we receive aren't that great, and we re-gift them or sell them or ask to get the monetary value of the gift, hence a gift receipt. I wonder if this whole thing has a lot less to do with the mixer itself and more to do with the fact that your dad maybe doesn't know anything about you or your living situation, or maybe doesn't listen to you when you talk about these things. Like with a high-value item like that, I would normally ask the person their favorite color or needs, or ask them to pick the one that they want because everyone has different needs, aesthetics, preferences, and availability. It's an awkward situation because it is a high-value item, and tons of people, including myself, would love to have one, but ultimately it's gone to a good home. OP has a mixer they like, and the dad still gave a very nice gift, and that effort doesn't mean nothing just because OP doesn't like it. I'm sure the effort put in is appreciated. I guess OP is just kind of fed up of the thoughtlessness of their dad not even asking them what they want, which is kind of valid because furnishing a home is very much a personal thing. It's a part of your personal space, so I get where OP is coming from. I don't think the dad is a jerk either. I just think everyone here has to communicate more effectively. OP would be better to let their dad know that the mixer wasn't for them, but they appreciate the effort. Am I the jerk for not doing anything hostessy for my in-laws' visit, given I'm 3 weeks postpartum? My husband's family lives on the other side of the country. We had our first kid at the height of lockdown, so my husband's parents, sister, and her family did not meet him in person until his first birthday. I just delivered our second 2 weeks ago, and my husband's family, 4 adults and 3 kids, asked if they could all visit during spring break to see the baby, which is the end of next week. I said okay. Although the 7 of them would be staying at an Airbnb, I know they will be spending all day every day at our home to see the kids. I told my husband to make sure they know we will be ordering in every meal. And beyond eggs and cereal and some drinks and snacks, like chips and fruit, I wasn't planning to get much else. I'm also tired and up with the baby all night, and I'm exhausted at the very thought of 7 people being in my house every day for a week while I'm trying to nurse and rest and manage a toddler's big emotions around a new sibling. His response was, "Well, we're going to need X and Y for my parents and X for the kids, and I was thinking one day I can make X." And he started describing needing to get the best bread and the best cheese, all of which involves trips to numerous stores. He even said he was going to ask my dad, who occasionally buys us some specialty grocery stuff that I ask for and drops it off to pick up a bunch of items for them. At this point, I got really mad. I said, I'm not trying to go above and beyond here and play host while I'm 3 weeks postpartum. They can eat the stuff from the grocery store, even if it's not the best, and deal for 5 days. He told me I sound spiteful. I was also frustrated because when his family visits, my husband checks out and just plays with his nephews and chats for hours with his brother-in-law. And I know I'm going to be the one setting out snacks, tidying up, etc. He seems more concerned with his family having fun, the visit being a good time, and with them being comfortable than with me getting what I need. I feel like it doesn't matter what I ask for. He isn't going to have my back, so I have to protect myself and my own well-being. We got into a big fight about it. I yelled at him, and I'm not really talking to him right now. They show up next week, and I'm feeling a lot of anger and resentment about it. So, am I the jerk for not lifting a finger for my visitors? Not the jerk. OMG, they should be helping you. Not the jerk. Tell him division of labor is that you take care of the baby and he takes care of the house and guests. If he refuses, offer to switch. He can do all the feeding and changing and lose sleep every night. No? Then he can take care of the house and the guests. Not the jerk. If your husband wants to have his family entertained, then he has to entertain them. That means cooking for them, serving them, and cleaning up after them. Am I the jerk for kicking my son out for how he treated his mom? I, 53 female, and my wife, Abby, who's 50 female, have been together for over 30 years and married for 20. We adopted our son, Jack, when he was a toddler after his parents had passed. He's now 20. Bringing him up wasn't without its difficulties, but in all, he was a good kid. Good grades, good judgment, didn't cause trouble on purpose. He always loved spending time with us, watching TV with us, and in his teen years, he even began cooking with us and became somewhat of a Gordon Ramsay. I noticed things changed a bit after we adopted our daughter at the age of 7, Sam. He was 15. She was a troubled kid, bounced around a lot in the foster care system. For a while, he loved her and really enjoyed being around her and showing her that this house was safe, which was basically all the things my wife and I were trying to do. I wanted to be clear that we never asked him to be a parent. That was our job. He always offered to do things with her and would often choose to be around her rather than his friends. He never had to babysit her, but he did on occasion during small emergencies. He seemed slightly annoyed with her, but always told us that it was just a bit frustrating to deal with her sometimes. For info, when I say Sam was troubled, I mean she'd hide food, hide herself, and shut down a lot. There was no violence or anger. We still deal with the echoes of some of this today. We do have her in therapy to this day, and she's much better. Soon after his 19th birthday, he met a girl who was 18 at the time, and his personality began to change. He grew resentful of us, of Sam. He'd make these weird or hostile comments towards Abby or me, and occasionally I'd catch him telling Sam about her biological family. I'd always try to shut it down, but he'd make some excuse and go home when I tried to talk to him. I don't want Sam getting into contact with her family. It's a toxic family that was no good and very dangerous. Earlier today, me and the wife were speaking to him about his behavior, and he said that his girlfriend told us that we kept him from his family on purpose during his entire upbringing, and that adoption was a bad experience that tears families apart. This stunned us since we were always as transparent as we could be. What remained of his family didn't want to talk to him, and that's why we adopted him. My wife tried to explain that we never tried to do that. He called her a lying jerk and told her to shut up, and that we are baby snatchers. Immediately, I cut in and told him to leave and not come back unless it's to apologize. He left, saying that he hoped one day Sam wisened up to us lying about her family as well, that we were awful for ripping her away from her real family. I don't understand his logic, but he was clearly upset at us for what we did. I wish I hadn't kicked him out so we could have talked it through, but he was just throwing mistreatment to us, the ones who actually cared for him for most of his life, and I couldn't watch it. Am I the jerk? Nope, not the jerk. It sounds like you've been saying and doing all the right things where both kids are concerned. Also, by age 20, he should have much better control over his actions and words. He had no right to talk to you like this. By the age of 6, I knew better than to talk to my parents that way. I don't think you should backtrack at all on the ultimatum. If he gets in touch, you can be relieved or happy, etc., but stay firm on your rule. He still has to apologize, and it has to be heartfelt. No throwaway stuff like, all right, I'm sorry. He needs to know why he's sorry, and the apology should reflect this. Also, something else might be going on with him. Not an excuse, but maybe an explanation. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter she can't move 1,000 miles away to live with her girlfriend? I, 46 female, am the mother to two wonderful kids, Andrew, who's 16, and Nicole, who's 21. Nicole was very bright as a kid and excelled in her classes, and she headed into college with a plan to get a master's at least. I never had to worry about her doing well or hitting milestones, but the last few years have been very surprising. She became a bit withdrawn in her teen years, more so than I realized until now, and after her first year of college, she suddenly moved out from a relative's home and got her own apartment. Then after her second year of college, last May, she told me and her father, who's 58, that she was dropping out and might return in a year, but wasn't sure, and that she was incredibly stressed and depressed and had been for years. It felt like it was coming out of nowhere. Last fall, she got a full-time job and started talking about how she was happy and finally in a good routine and that she loved working. I was glad things were at least going well for her now, but still hoping she'd return to college soon. One of the biggest recent bombshells she dropped on me, though, was a month ago when I drove to visit her. We went out for lunch and we started talking about this friend, 25 female, of hers. Eventually, my daughter admitted to me that she and this girl had been dating since January and that she flew to meet her without even telling me or her father. Mind you, she flew over 1,000 miles to see this girl that she had never even met and had only called and video chatted with for a few months. I was shocked and angry, but all I did was gently scold her for not telling me and that I'm glad she's okay and that she had a good time with her girlfriend. I'm very new to this whole thing with my daughter, but I'm willing to support her because I love her. The problem now is that she told me earlier this week that she intends to move within the next year and a half. She says it may be sooner rather than later because things are changing with her girlfriend's living situation and she wanted to give me a heads up. I told her absolutely not, that she can't move in with someone she's only been dating for a couple of months, especially not when she's moving several states away. All of her family is here, including me and her father and her brother and her 3 living grandparents. I told her she's too young and she can't move that far away from us just for a girl. She told me that regardless of her girlfriend, she's been wanting to move away for years and that her girlfriend's state was on a list of potential places. She said she loved being there when she visited and can't wait to go back. She says I'm being unreasonable by asking her to stay and that she hates it here and feels like she can't be herself. Am I the jerk here? I don't think she's old enough or mature enough to leave. Edit because someone asked. My daughter didn't ask for money. She almost never asks for money. She's like her father in that way. She's almost completely financially independent. I have her on my health and dental insurance to help her out. My mother pays for her monthly phone plan because she insisted on doing something for my daughter. And my daughter's grandfather on her father's side pays her car insurance. And my daughter goes to her father when she has car troubles because he has a lot of experience with cars. My daughter takes care of all of her other needs on her own. You're the jerk. It seems like you don't know much about your daughter's personal life, and that's okay because she doesn't need to share. She's not a teen living under your roof. The more you butt in and tell her what she can and can't do as an adult, the less you're going to see her. Have you considered that the reason she wants to leave at all is to get away from the restraints of her hometown and family? You're the jerk. She's an adult, and she has respected you enough to tell you. It's a shame that you weren't close enough to get to see that she was depressed when you thought she was all good, but keeping her close won't make up for that. Fully embrace and support her because it sounds like she's happy. Stay on her good side, and hopefully she'll bring you along in her new life. My Karen stepdaughter scammed me for $10,000. Fake names for privacy. I have 3 kids, Bea, 23 female, Amy, 20 female, and Liz, 15 female. Bea is technically my stepdaughter, and I only mention it because it's relevant to the story. My husband Ben and I have a deal with our kids that as long as they are studying, we will pay for all their expenses, and they may be at home rent-free. If they feel that college isn't for them, then they need to get a job. We feel it's their life and their choice, but Ben and I won't enable them to do nothing. Amy is earning a degree, and Liz is still in high school. Bea told us that college wasn't for her. We said okay and helped her apply for jobs. She got hired as a receptionist, but only works part-time. We just asked that she pitch in for groceries, under $75 a month, and help with chores. She was not charged for her room or for water or electric bills. We also paid for her car and its insurance. Bea only had to pay for gas. She also has all of her essentials, soap, toothpaste, etc., provided by us. She needs to follow the house rules. Be kind and respectful to every member of the house. You may stay up past 10 p.m., but must be quiet since other people have work or school. Turn off devices you aren't using to conserve electricity and improve the Wi-Fi. We don't approve of smoking, but if you're going to do it, you have to do it outside and dispose of it properly, etc. Ben and I always believed that our rules were fair and reasonable. That was all the background. Here's the reason I'm posting. In January, Bea approached us explaining that our occupational center was offering courses and she wanted to take them so she could become certified and get a better paying job. The tuition for the course, plus extra fees because of books and other required supplies, would come out to over $10,000. Ben and I wrote her a check because, as I said, we will help all of our kids with their education. We asked about 2 weeks ago if she would be having a graduation ceremony, and Bea replied that she didn't know. Ben and I called the occupational center to ask so we could make sure to get the day off work. We asked for 3 different workers who all confirmed that the course Bea claimed to have been enrolled in hadn't been offered at that center for years. We do more digging and discover that Bea had gambled away most of the money and spent the rest on things that go against our rules. Needless to say, we were livid with her. We couldn't believe that she would lie and betray our trust like that. We told Bea that we had expected all the money paid back by the end of the year and for her to pay us a $400 monthly rent. If not, she's out of the house. Time to grow up, be an adult, and take accountability. Bea's biological mom, Zoe, is calling me a jerk and trying to make it seem as if I'm the wicked stepmother and just hate Bea. She's saying things like I've turned Ben against Bea and Bea can't do anything fun anymore because of the rent rule. Ben and I feel Bea needs some serious boundaries, but Zoe's words have made me doubt myself. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You know you're never gonna see that money, right? Bea lied to you to keep living rent-free, and she scammed you out of $10,000 on top of that. I'd kick her out right now, not wait 9 months for her to cause more mischief. By the way, in the future, pay the tuition, residence, books, etc. bills directly rather than cutting the student a check. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Bea? Please let us know. If biological mom has such a strong opinion, maybe Bea should move in with her. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.